Chapter 13. Little Mikey limps along a country road. The gravel crunches beneath his feet and birds sing in this summer's morning, still fresh before the heat of day arrives. Despite his slow left foot, little Mikey has a spring in his step. He is full of the freshness of this morning. He is full of the hope of the road. It stretches before him, winding into the hot hills. Water sloshes in his pack and the sound makes him happy. Water is all he needs when the sun is bright. Food will come when it does. Cars are few on this road. A half hour can pass with nothing, sometimes an hour, but they do come eventually. They always do. The tracks on the road confirm it, the tread of tires laid one on the other, over and over, crisp in the long absence of rain. Little Mikey has found that he needs nothing, walking out here in the world. All he requires is the fresh air about him and the hope of Grootstad ahead. He will make it to his goal, even by this country route that winds its way away and then back to the great Highway 3. A car buzz rises behind him. He walks a little, letting it build, knowing it is far yet, and then he turns and faces it. He sticks his thumb out, full of the confidence of the road, and is untouched by regret when the vehicle does not slow, because he knows it makes no difference. Two men are inside it, a can of cool drink in each of their hands. One man has bright yellow sunshades wrapped onto his face. The back of their pickup is open. What a ride that would be. Little Mikey whispers to himself, smiling, imagining the warm wind of these valleys flowing over him as he flies along in that empty load bed. He turns and walks onward, watching them and their curtain of dust buzz into the blue distance. He knows that something will turn up. A man of the road knows that a new adventure is just around the corner, he mutters. He doesn't know where it will come from, but he knows it will come. The sound of an engine beat behind, distant, rising. Little Mikey turns once again, raising his thumb, looking back at the road along which he has come. A car is climbing into view, solidifying out of the distance haze of this place. It is metallic green, streaked with dirt, the windshield covered in dust but for two half circles made clean by the wipers. Through the left circle, Mikey can see a face peering out. He can see the dark spots of the eyes, hovering just above two flesh-colored blobs gripping the steering wheel. He watches and waits as the face solidifies. He knows that whether the car stops or not does not matter, and yet he knows it will. He and the face are connected. He has learned this feeling now. There is something between them. Their roads have converged. The face is a woman's. She is staring out at him, wide-eyed and almost furious at the sight of this little boy on his own out here in this immensity. The green car slides up next to him, its long dust curtain drifting behind. The passenger window slides down and little Mikey peers inside. "Hello, you," says the woman, confusion spread across her face. "What are you doing here?" "I'm travelling to Grootstad, ma'am. I was told I can get through to the R30 on this road." Yes, you can," she stutters, "but it's a long way, very long way." "Oh, I don't mind." The woman's eyes travel up and down his little body, settling on his face. "We're not going all the way. We live partway there, near the escarpment." "That's okay, ma'am. Any distance is helpful." She hesitates a moment more. "What's your name?" "I'm Mikey," he replies, smiling. She pauses. "Well, okay, hop in. You'll have to get in the back." She glances to the back seat. Little Mikey can't see through to it. It is obscured by the thick dust on the back passenger window. But then she reaches forward and ratchets the passenger seat full of shopping bags forward. It hinges down, revealing the back seat. "Come on, open the door." Little Mikey flicks the door handle and steps carefully into the car. As he is climbing in, he pauses. There is someone on the back seat. A girl. He smiles. She wears a brown beanie and below it is a straight fringe framing her green eyes. She does not smile and her eyes are hostile. A scowl stands like a V between them. "Come on," says the woman. "Let's get going." All right. Little Mikey avoids the eyes of the girl and quickly looks away. He settles into the back seat beside her. They buzz along the dusty road. A radio station plays a tune. "Why are you going to Grootstad?" asks the woman, glancing up at him in the rearview mirror, smiling nervously. "My mother is there, ma'am. I'm going to find her." You're brave to be going so far. It's okay, I like being on the road. You enjoy hitchhiking? Yes, ma'am, I like meeting people. Aren't you afraid? Well, I am a little afraid, of course. Little Mikey glances at the girl and catches her glancing away. But people aren't bad, ma'am. I've met very nice people on the roads. The woman shakes her head. I'm impressed. Little Mikey nods. What is your name, ma'am? Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Anna, and the very quiet one sitting next to you there is Anna too. You can call her Annie to avoid total confusion. Hello, Anna and Annie. Little Mikey laughs, enjoying the joke. Anna laughs too. Annie turns her eyes to the window and the passing bush beside them. Do you do farming out here? Asks little Mikey. You live quite far away from the town. Yes, we have a farm, Anna says, again glancing at the boy in her rearview mirror, her eyes the eyes of her daughters. We farm with sheep. Little Mikey nods, at the same time looking away, out to the passing yellow country beneath a bowl of blue sky, and then flicking his eyes to the girl beside him. She has turned her body away, her shoulders angled to the window. She wears an oversized jersey reaching almost to her knees. Underneath she wears long pants and sneakers on her feet. Little Mikey reaches out, touching her on her shoulder. She turns suddenly, looking at him with blazing eyes. Aren't you hot? He asks, smiling. She blinks, her scowl furrowed between her eyes. I don't get hot, she replies and turns away. Little Mikey shrugs and looks at the view through the windscreen. It's not long until a brown sign with white printed letters appears in the distance, growing nearer. This is our turn-off, says Anna, her eyes in the rearview mirror again. Oh, okay. Little Mikey folds his arms around his dusty backpack, ready to climb out. The car begins to slow. He takes a last look around. He hadn't expected the trip to be so short. His eyes are light on their shopping and the bottle of water peering out of a half-open bag. Ma'am, could I perhaps just take one of your bottles of water? The car pulls up beside the sign. Anna turns in her seat to look at the little boy. Mikey, I've been thinking. It's nearly lunchtime. Why don't you come to the farm and have lunch with us? It's going to get quite hot soon. I could then drop you back on the road when it's cooler. Little Mikey looks out at the road and then back at the woman. I don't know, ma'am. I don't want to miss any lifts. I've got a long way to go. This road is very quiet, especially in the middle of the day. He is unsure. He looks around the car again and then out. He knows the lady is right. The road will get hot very soon, and it is very quiet. It's strange, he thinks, how quickly a person forgets the beauty of the open road and becomes seduced by comfort. Okay, ma'am, he says after another moment's thought. Thank you. Some lunch would be very nice. Anna smiles too. Such a polite young man. She shakes her head to herself, happy with her choice, while Annie again looks out of her window, her shoulders turned away. Anna pulls away, and little Mikey watches the world revolve, turning from the road, winding to faraway Grootstad and settling on a new trail. I've never been in this part of the world, says little Mikey, leaning forward to watch the path unfold. Oh, it's very lonely, but very beautiful, says Anna, shifting her motor car into third as they buzz along the gravel, their dust curtain hanging behind. The Arendse farm is spread on a hill, an ancient roll within the land, frozen on its endless journey and surrounded by bigger hills that roll above it. Their home is four-roomed, sheltering under tin that pings in the evening when the world cools, with drab walls brushed with white and red climbing roses growing tall from the well wheel that turns in the afternoon breeze, keeping the garden reservoir full. In the garden, trails run between Anna's vegetable beds. She has all kinds. Tomatoes near the kitchen door shaded by a green net, pumpkins spread fat on the sand, roasting in the passing sun, and carrots digging through the turned earth further down towards the well, kept safe from marauding pigs by a wire fence dug a metre down. Even aubergines glisten, soft in this harsh place, shaded and kept alive by her. Beyond the homestead, the farm spreads through the hills. A short distance to the west is a row of shepherds' homes, where their families live while the shepherds follow the roaming herds. In the distance, far towards the hazy horizon, the escarpment rises, a greater mountain above these little ones rolling in the sun. Inside the kitchen is a high counter with high stools beneath it, and little Mikey and Annie perch on them while Anna makes sandwiches. So you come from Vryburg, Mikey? Yes, ma'am, my mama and I. And your father? He's been working in Grootstad. He works there on the mines. Anna turns from the counter and slides a plate and a glass in front of each of the children. Cheese and tomato sandwiches on white bread and a glass of orange juice. "Oh, Ross!" cries little Mikey, taking the glass. "Thank you." He takes a deep gulp. Anna smiles while Annie looks down at her plate. "Why does your mother let you hitchhike to Grootstad alone?" "Where is she?" asks Annie, her eyes on her sandwich as she puts a corner in her mouth. "Annie, don't be rude." "Why, Mom? Maybe he's lying." "Annie!" Little Mikey shrugs. He takes up his own sandwich. Then he pauses, the bread halfway to his mouth. "Well, it's because we are poor people. My mama was the washerwoman on a farm lodge, but it was hard work and she didn't keep up." He takes a bite of his sandwich, chewing, thinking. "We fell behind on payments, and then one day while I was at school the police took her. She's now in the jail in Grootstad." Anna shoots her daughter a furious look, and Annie colors red and looks down to her plate. "I'm sorry, Mikey, that must have been very hard." Little Mikey puts his sandwich down. "That's why I want to go to Grootstad. Maybe I can find my dad and together we can help my mama. Maybe he can pay the fine." Anna frowns. She perches on a chair with them. "Do you know your dad's phone number? Wouldn't it be good to phone him?" Little Mikey shakes his head. "I don't have it, ma'am. My mama gave me a letter with his address just before they took her. It's all I have." He sighs deeply. "But if you have an address, you can phone him. We can find his number from his address." Little Mikey looks up at her, not understanding. "We can use the phone book." "We can?" "Yes. Come on, let's do it." Little Mikey colors white. "Ma'am?" "Oh, I'm sorry, don't you want to?" I do. Annie is watching him, a look of suspicion pulling her face sharp. "He is lying! Annie!" Little Mikey drops his head, breathing deeply. He stays there a moment, thinking. Then carefully he slides off of his chair. "He's lying, Mom! Annie, be quiet!" Little Mikey looks from one to the other, mother to daughter. He shakes his head, gently. He reaches down to his backpack, bringing it up onto the stool. "I'm not lying," he says very softly. "It's just that I've never spoken to my dad." He opens the bag and reaches inside. He slides his hand into a pocket in the lining, the left one, and his fingers find his mama's envelope kept safely inside. He draws it out, and his eyes stay glued to his pack. "This is my dad's address." He hands the slip of paper to Anna and she reads it. "Carl, the time has come for you to take over. This boy needs his father now. I hope you are doing well. Clarissa." Anna turns the envelope over. "Carl Stansfield, 14 Albertine Laan, Edenridge, Grootstad." She holds the envelope to her chest. She looks at the boy who is standing with his head hanging down. "Come on, let's phone." She sweeps out of the kitchen, the letter held tight, and both children scramble after her. She glides through the passage, passing the guest toilet in the spare room, and into the open lounge where the telephone stands on the little table. "Come on." She settles herself on the stool next to the table, reaching under it to pull up the big phone book. "This has all the phone numbers of everyone in the country," she says brightly, hefting the thick book onto her lap. "Let's just see, shall we?" She swings the big book with its soft pages open on her lap. Little Mikey watches, his eyes wide. "Look at this," she says, flipping to a break in the densely printed names and numbers. "This is the beginning of Grootstad. Look." She shows them by grabbing all the pages from the great city with her finger and thumb. "Grootstad is 3/4 of the book. These are all the names of all the people in the whole country, and Grootstad is 3/4 of everyone." "Are our names in there?" asks Annie. "Oh yes, everybody's name is in here." Anna is flipping through the pages. "All we need to do is find the Stansfields." She smiles at little Mikey. "Mr. Stansfield?" Little Mikey watches as the pages turn, eyes wide. "And when we do," she has found the Stansfields and is running her finger down the list of them, "we look for a C, or this address." Her finger runs down the names, printed 200 to a page. "Phew, there are a lot." Little Mikey looks on, his hands anxiously kneading each other. "Okay, here we are." Both children lean over, putting their faces so close to the book that Anna has to push them away with one hand. They follow her finger as it slowly moves down the endless list. Well, there are about 50 C's, but no one at that address. Does that mean he's gone? No, we just have to put our detective hats on. Anna looks up from the book, fixing her eyes on the two of them. Life isn't always easy, but we don't give up. She looks from one child to the other, their astonished faces watching hers. Come, sit down. Let's get to work. Anna takes up her phone. Annie, read me that first number there. Annie does. Anna begins to dial. She waits. And then, hello? Little Mikey sits alone on the back veranda, just above the steps leading down to the tomatoes. He looks out at the bush that sings with crickets in the heat of noon. It rises all around, climbing the mottled hills, up and up to the escarpment in the hazy distance. He looks down, his feet dangling in front of him. Absently, he taps his left foot against the concrete of the step. It clunks, a dull sound through his worn shoe. His shoulders droop. Anna had gone through the list one by one, and slowly the hope filling him had begun to wane. In Grootstad, it turns out, there are very many Mr. C. Stansfields. The atmosphere of excitement had soon bled away, and he had excused himself to use the toilet, and now he has come to sit here. He hears a scrape behind him as the kitchen door opens. He turns, expecting to see Anna, but it is Annie. She holds a yellow icicle in each hand. He frowns. Hello, she says. She smiles suddenly and holds one of the icicles out to him. He takes it. She sits beside him, letting her feet hang beside his. They eat. I'm sorry I called you a liar. He shrugs. And I'm sorry we didn't find your dad. Little Mikey nods. I just have to go there. There aren't any shortcuts. I got to actually go to his address, and then I'll find out. Well, what if he doesn't live there anymore? Then I'll ask someone where he lives now. And if they don't know, then I'll ask someone else. There will always be someone. The road doesn't end until you step off it. What do you mean? Everybody is traveling on a road. You can't choose the direction the road will take, but you can choose if you want to travel it or not. If you don't want to, you can step off. That is your freedom. But then you are on a new road. He taps his feet. But you're not on the road now. Yes, I am. The road I was on turned this way and I chose to follow it. She looks down at her own tapping feet. Is everyone on a road? Well, they must be. They are alive. They tap in the quiet. Tap, 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 tap. Where is my road going? I don't know. He looks up at her and finds her looking at him too. Even when she is smiling, her scowl is there. Do you want to see? She asks. What do I want to see? Where my road is going. Should I show you? He marvels at her eyes. They burn beneath her scowl. He nods, sensing his own road twisting through the long, empty bush. Okay. She stands and turns and is already moving into the house when he jumps up, holding his icicle steady, and hurries after her. They move through the kitchen, hearing the murmuring of Anna on the telephone. Instead of turning left to the living room, Annie turns right and little Mikey follows. Deeper into the house they go, down the passage towards the bedrooms. It's gloomy here, full of the silence of the lives that live here, and have lived here. Little Mikey sees the large door of the room at the end of the passage. Anna's room, he assumes. Annie takes an abrupt left, turning into a smaller bedroom. Little Mikey follows. He comes to a stumbling stop, nearly careening into her back, and then steps around her. He gasps. The walls of her bedroom are plastered with posters. They swirl about the walls, colors upon colors, a symphony of inks, and on each of them, despite the backgrounds that flit and spark and change like the landscape beside a speeding motor car, revolving forever, is one image over and over, a rider flying through the air, his motorcycle beside him. They are soaring, all kinds of them, somersaulting and jumping and spinning, their faces covered by their visors as the nameless crowds look on. Little Mikey stands in wonder. A world nearly forgotten is rising inside of him, a buried dream breaking the surface. "Do you know Wild Society?" asks Annie, her voice low. He shakes his head, stepping forward, now looking at these riders and their motorcycles close up, his hand wiping at the ink in which they fly. "They're a trick team from Grootstad. Most of these are them." "Wild Society," repeats little Mikey. His eyes pick out the details on a picture before him. A foot curled around a gear lever, a tire spinning in spotlit air. "Have you seen trick riding before?" Little Mikey shakes his head. "No, but I do like it. I used to like it." He turns back to her. Her scowl is gone. "They came to our town once," she says. "I saw the whole show with my dad. I'm going to join them." "You ride?" She nods. "Once." Little Mikey blinks. "Do you jump?" She smiles. "Do you want to see my bike?" Little Mikey blinks again. "Yes. Come on." She reaches out to take his hand. The two hurry out of the house, moving along the trails among the vegetables and through the gate on the west side of the property, leading to the hills. "Make sure it's closed," she warns as she hurries ahead of him. He latches the gate and hurries after her. They do not have far to go. Beyond a thicket of acacias the land drops and she skids to a halt, little Mikey nearly tumbling into her again. He stumbles, scrabbles, pushes himself up among the loose stones, and stares. In the depression before them is a circular dirt track winding among dusty hillocks. The track undulates up and down among the uneven land, skipping over the little humps and finally surging to a mound rising to chest height. The jump. Both their eyes are locked on the empty air in front of the lip, where a rider and a bike might sail. "Do you have a bike?" he whispers. She pulls him down the loose hillside, rocks and clumps of earth scattering behind them. The bike is parked behind the jump. It rests on its stand, perched high and graceful. A yellow RM 150, just like Mikey's own rider's, a dirt-spattered swallow ready for liftoff. "You can ride this." "Oh yes." He turns to see her flinging a dirt-colored wooden box open, unnoticed in the bush, and pulling out a red helmet. She tosses it to him and pulls out a blue full-face helmet with a silver visor for herself. "Come on." "Now." "Come on." She jams a helmet on her head and steps purposefully towards the machine. She steps high and then her sneakered right foot crunches down on the kickstart, kicking the bike into crackling life. Little Mikey hesitates a moment more, then jams his own helmet on his head and hops on behind her, just as the machine bounds away beneath them. The road bucks under them. It surges. It sings. The world becomes crystal clear. Little Mikey holds her tight. He sees every detail of the bush and track as it rushes towards them, as the engine pounds and the tires chew the ground. He feels every moment within every moment, how Annie gathers herself as the ramps approach, bringing the machine to her, testing her legs about the tank, making the bike a part of her, and how they rise to the apex of the bump, and how they lift off, setting the machine and themselves free, weightless for a moment, and how they fly and fly. Towards sunset they return to the house, making sure to close the gate behind them. They are ravenous, and it's the wafting smell of food that guides them to the kitchen. Anna takes one look at them. "In the shower with you two," she scolds, and demands their dusty shoes so that they troop barefoot down the passage, away from the living room, halfway to the large door at the end and not quite as far as Annie's bedroom, and then turn left into a large purple bathroom. "I'll wait for you," says little Mikey, stepping back to take up a place against the wall. "Don't be stupid. We can go in one at a time. Just close your eyes," she says. Once inside the bathroom, little Mikey sits on the closed toilet pot while she undresses next to the shower. "Are your eyes closed?" "Yes," he nods furiously. He listens as the tap in the shower turns and water cascades. "I'm inside. You can open." He does, seeing a world of steam growing before him. "My jump is 1 meter high," he hears through the falling water. "I can clear 2, maybe 2.5. How do you measure it?" "What?" "How high you can jump." "Well, I guess, I suppose." Little Mikey nods. The water falls. "Well, how far does your ramp take you?" "Say again?" "What distance can you jump?" "Close your eyes, I'm coming out." Little Mikey does. "What do you know about ramps?" He shrugs, his eyes tightly shut. Pretty much nothing, but I do love them. Well, I'd say I can jump maybe 5 meters. Little Mikey opens his eyes. She is standing right in front of him, wrapped in a faded orange towel, her wet hair tumbling about her face. Do you know anything about planning a jump, like how high a ramp must be? He shakes his head, and his eyes are sparkling with excitement. I bet you could learn. He shrugs, staring at her wet hair. It's your turn in the shower. She reaches out to push him at the shoulder, forcing him to stand so that she can sit. Don't worry, I'll close my eyes. Little Mikey makes his way across the large bathroom to the shower beside the door, walking carefully, conscious of his limping foot. You can use the green towel there. There is a green towel hanging beside the door. The steaming water is still cascading. I built my ramp on my own, but I don't really know what I'm doing. I was hoping you might know. She speaks with her eyes tightly shut, her face tilted to catch his words among the cascading water. I have built things before, says little Mikey, carefully peeling his shirt from his body and then his shorts, trying not to drop too much sand on the bathroom floor, although it is already mixing with the dirt Annie shed. I helped build a Wendy house once. I enjoyed doing it. He bends and peels his socks off, one by one, working carefully around his left foot. He looks up, checking that Annie's eyes are closed. She's sitting on the closed toilet pot wrapped in her towel, her eyes screwed up tight, her face raised to the light, her smile just revealing her teeth. Quickly, he strips his shorts off and steps into the shower, avoiding the steaming waterfall, and then he peels off his underpants. He reaches for the soap from the dish just below head height and holds his underpants under the steaming water, gasping as it touches his skin. He lathers the soap around his underpants and slowly steps under the water himself, his body seeming to fall apart under the pleasure of it. He washes first his underpants and then all the rest of his clothes, reaching out to collect his shorts and socks from the floor and his t-shirt, while Annie's voice tumbles behind the sound of the falling water. Wild Society's longest jump was 78 meters, and the ramp for that was 8 meters high. How high is that? Our house is 4 meters, so about double. That's high. Come on, kids, he hears Anna calling from within. Supper's ready. Coming, we're just busy, Annie yells back. The water falls, washing little Mikey clean. Little Mikey and Annie sit side by side at the kitchen counter. Their plates of sausage, mash, greens and gravy are cleared and pushed away from them. Little Mikey is dressed in Annie's tracksuit. Dr. West's trick-riding team is written boldly across the back and on the breast pocket. Anna comes to sit with them, folding her hands before her and fixing little Mikey with a serious eye. How are you doing, Mikey? I'm fine, thank you. I didn't have any luck with finding your father today. Little Mikey nods, looking down. But I did get one interesting lead. Oh? One of the numbers I called said a Mr. Stansfield did live there before. She gave me another number to phone. There was no answer, but I'm going to try again tomorrow. Little Mikey nods. Which brings me to my next point. Little Mikey looks down at his plate, knowing what's coming. He sighs and then looks up at her again. I want to ask you if you will stay with us for a while. Little Mikey's mouth drops open in surprise. Yes! Shouts Annie, banging the table. It's school holidays now, so neither of you needs to be at school, and you can help us here on the farm. She reaches her hand out, taking his. I'd also like to help you a little bit. I think there are a few good phone calls I can make to help you find your family. What do you say? Little Mikey looks from mother to daughter, astonished, and then he looks away. Mikey, Auntie, she puts her hand on his shoulder. Mikey, it's okay if you don't want to stay with us. You can tell me. Little Mikey looks up at her, anguish in his eyes. I'm sorry, I don't want you to think I'm not grateful. What's the problem? Asks Annie, her frown hard. Annie, be polite. Little Mikey shakes his head. I just don't think it's a good idea for me to be off the road for so long. I made a promise that I would go to Grootstad as soon as I can. Anna reaches a hand out to Annie, gently pushing her back down into her chair, giving little Mikey some space. Mikey, you can decide whatever you like. It's okay by us. But it's late now. Why don't you think about it tonight and decide in the morning? Little Mikey nods gratefully. looking from one to the other. "Come now, you're exhausted. The both of you get to bed. Tomorrow is a new day." Anna squeezes little Mikey's hand and then gives Annie a look. "Off you go." The two troop out. "Annie," warns Anna from behind them, "straight to bed." "Yes, Mom. Tomorrow is a new day." "Yes, Mom." That night little Mikey lies on a mattress on the floor of the spare room, the old bed against the wall beneath the window covered with stacked boxes. "You'll be far more comfortable here," Anna had said, kneeling beside him as she tucked the blankets around him. "That bed is so old, it's more lumps than mattress." Then she had leaned over and kissed him on his cheek. "I hope you sleep well, Mikey," she then said. "I'm glad you could stay with us tonight." He stares up at the ceiling. It is crisscrossed with leaf shadow cast by the orange halogen light set above the gate down at the bottom of the driveway. He can still feel the spot where Anna had kissed him. He can still feel the warmth of her supper, and he can feel the safety of this house. There is a creak as the door to the bedroom slides open, and a double creak as sock-covered feet tiptoe towards him. "Why don't you want to stay with us?" Annie's voice comes from the dark, speaking from the same spot her mother did. "I have to keep moving," he whispers. "You're scared." "Scared of what?" "Scared of something new." "You're crazy." "Not as crazy as you are, Mr. Hitchhiker." She pinches him on his shoulder. "I'm planning something," she whispers. "I need you to help me." He turns to her. "What are you planning?" "Something great, something unbelievable." "What is it?" "I can't tell someone who's leaving." "You can!" He sits up. She shakes her head slowly and deliberately, her dark silhouette just visible. "You have to stay. Then I can trust you." "Well, how long do I have to stay for?" "Until it's finished." "How long?" She leans forward, her face suddenly lit by the light falling through the window. "We'll have to find out." She smiles, revealing white teeth. "Just stay with us for a little bit. My mom will help you find your dad. You don't have to leave your road. Your road is here." Suddenly she leans forward and kisses him on his cheek, and then she is gone. Leaves rustle in orange relief across the ceiling. Crickets sing out there in the bush, and the tin roof ticks as it cools. "Go," whispers a thought inside little Mikey. "Stay," whispers the double-kissed spot on his cheek. He turns over, looking towards the boxes piled on top of the old bed, and the cut light falling across them. He closes his eyes.